Good evening, everybody. I'm reading a statement from the Chair. I'm Pat Edwards. For those of you who haven't met me, I'm Chair of the Planning Committee. Good evening. There's no fire alarm planned for this evening. Should the alarm sound, please leave by the nearest available emergency exit. The two exits are through the glass door behind you to my left and through the double doors onto the riverside behind you. So there. Please meet at Tower House Car Park. Members of the public are welcome to make their own recordings of the meeting using whatever non-disruptive methods they think are suitable. I'd like to remind everybody present at the meeting that it's being minuted, recorded, filmed and made available to view in live and archive form via the Council's website. If you're seated in the public gallery, it's possible the cameras may capture your image. If you wish to avoid being filmed, it's recommended you make a member of staff aware who can direct you to where to sit. The Westgate garden gates on the riverside are locked, so members of the public must leave the Guildhall by the side exit behind the glass door. Any apologies, John?
Yes, we've apologies from Councillor Ian Stockley.
And substitutes, John?
Yep, Councillor Liz Harvey for Councillor Stockley.
Declarations of interest by councillors or officers. John, can you read out the generic declaration of interest for all councillors, please? Thank you.
All or some councillors may have received correspondence from or spoken with applicants, agents, supporters or objectors, and some of the public speakers may also be known to members of the committee due to their work as councillors. Neither circumstance prevents councillors from participating in the meeting. However, any councillor who considers that they do not have an open mind in respect of any item on the agenda should not participate in the meeting when the relevant item is to be discussed. And we've not had any declarations in advance, Chair.
Thank you. Does anybody here want to make a declaration? Councillor Mackenzie.
Okay, thank you, Chair. In a previous planning committee meeting, I spoke in favour in principle of infrastructure and amenities on the Hoplands farm, but I remain open-minded on specific applications, and I will judge item 8 on its merits. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bothwell.
Thank you, Chair. Just a technical issue that I can't access. So something I've raised with you, with the officers previously. I can't access certain documents on the planning portal. So it means that I can't refer to documents on the planning portal. So it makes decision making very difficult.
Saw some correspondence about this. What we said was if you let the officers know today, they'd have a look at it for you.
That's what I'm doing.
John's coming round.
Thank you.
Can I go on? Okay. I've just gone on and I've accessed documents. Just checking the Wi-Fi. Can I just check? Councillors who are raising this difficulty, have you not been able to look at the papers beforehand? I mean, just trying to check with Kath what position this puts us in. If you're saying there are things you can't actually see that you need
I thought it was the planning portal that Keith couldn't access, not the papers, which is a different thing. That's, you can access the papers, can't you? Oh, okay.
Excuse me, everybody. We're just trying to sort out if people can access the correct links for this today. Okay, thank you, everybody, for helping. So let's continue, please. Thank you. There are two public speakers tonight who will be heard immediately after the officer's presentation under each relevant item. And can we first consider the minutes of the Planning Committee meeting of 14th of October 2025? We have a small amendment for this. So if you look at what is, I think, paragraph 330, according to my note, it's section 330. It's the bottom paragraph on page 2. If you remember, we talked about land adjacent to Cockering Farm. There was a long discussion about trees and hedges, and we talked at the time about 2 metres away and 1. Apparently, it should be 4 metres and 2 metres. If everybody's happy to accept that, we can pass the minutes by general assent. Councillor Buckman, do come in.
Yeah, no, it's the paragraph above, actually, just for an update of what happened with the letter or contacting KCC regarding the school, because all I can read at the moment is what's on social media.
Thank you. It's been raised by Simon, and they're having a meeting tomorrow where all these, a number of items will come up and this one will. So we haven't got a reply for you today. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was asked the question.
Yeah?
He said, I'll liaise with educational colleagues for comment. He hasn't come back. This is on the 16th to the 10th. So I'm meeting him tomorrow anyway, generally. So I'll raise this
Okay.
with him.
That was a week or two ago. So Simon's expecting that when they have the meeting tomorrow, there should be information.
Will that be sent round to everybody on email, or is that for the next planning meeting?
Can we, can't it?
Yeah, I can update on
Yeah, I don't see why not. Yeah, I think that should be fine. Thank you. So that's a matter arising, but can we go back to just whether Dan Smith?
Thank you, Chair. It was also on the paragraph that where you were amending the meterage. I think the gaps in the hedges, they cover. It makes it look as if they're the ones on the Manor Close side on that statement, but I think we were talking about them around the entire hedge area. So, particularly with between the different development at on the would it be the western side? I can't northwestern side. Yeah, so which is not the Manor Close side as I recall. So if you could just note that it's the hedgerows, gaps in the hedgerows around the entire site, I think would probably be more accurate. Yeah, I think we need to amend that because I think that's incorrect in the minutes. I think, big pardon, sorry, Pam.
I'm not putting mine on now. We're both putting them on and off. Sorry, everybody. Councillor Dan Smith, can you actually word your amendment? Because that will make it much quicker.
Thank you. I think the wording needs to go something along the lines of, and that gaps in the hedges around the entire site should be provided to correspond with the natural desire lines. Around the entire site, yes. Because we were pretty much talking about the ones at the back, but it's all of the lines with the natural desire lines is what we're looking at there.
I'm happy with that. That's okay, isn't it? Yeah. Yep. So I can just amend my hard copy with those. And if we're happy with that, then can we, general assent, approve the minutes, please? Thank you very much, everybody. Sorry. Can we now move on to item 6, which is application number CA 24-01903, north of Bullockston Road, Canterbury Road roundabout, south of Thanet Way, Herne Bay. Stevie Andrews is going to produce a report, introduce the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So yes, this is the application at north of Bullockston Road in Herne Bay. So as members will recall, this application was last reported to the Planning Committee in August earlier this year. So members resolved at this time to approve the application, and that was subject to the safeguarding conditions that were recommended by officers, as well as the completion of a legal agreement. So this legal agreement was to secure financial contributions towards education, health and social and community infrastructure, as well as the provision of affordable housing on site, upgrades to the nearest bus stop and SAM's contributions as well. So officers have been negotiating with the developer on the legal agreement, and the appellant has pointed out that education, health and social and community infrastructure is in actual fact covered by the council's infrastructure list. And so these types of developments will be funded through the community infrastructure levy. This is in fact correct, and so the legal agreement no longer needs to include those financial contributions because they are going to be funded through the community infrastructure levy. And to do so, to require the developer to enter into an agreement for those contributions would in effect be asking for the contributions twice when they are only required once, and that would be through the community infrastructure level. So on that basis, the application is still being recommended for approval, and that's subject to the previously agreed safeguarding conditions and also the completion of the legal agreement, but removing those contributions towards education, health, social and community infrastructures, but still having the legal agreement to secure SAMs, the upgrades to the nearest bus stop and the provision of affordable housing on the site. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I mean, I think that's a good explanation about what's happened. We were double counting, and obviously we have a SIL framework, so that is visible to people to see. So we can, we can go back to that if need be. But on that basis, I recommend that we do agree the officer's recommendation to grant planning permission suitable, subject to safeguarding conditions set out in the report at Annex 1 and the completion of the Section 106 legal agreement set out in this new report. Do I have a seconder? Would you like to speak? I'm very sorry. Okay. Okay. All right then. I think we can't predict that entirely, so maybe you should. I think it's better that you do, and then we haven't tied our hands.
I will be brief.
In any way. Thank you.
All I want to do was just put some numbers to the council's report, the officer's report, rather. Sorry, the still liability for this development is £370,000. KCC have require £192,000 to deliver the infrastructure they're responsible for, leaving you with £177,000 of SIL that you can use for whatever you want in terms of infrastructure. It's not fair, reasonable or lawful for KCC to expect us to pay them through Section 106 and for this, to pay for the same infrastructure that we're paying you through the SIL. So I commend the officer's report, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So I have suggested that we, and I've got Dan Smith seconding. Thank you very much. Do people want to ask any questions? In which case, should we go to the vote? John, can you run the vote, please? Thank you.
Okay, that's carried unanimously.
Thank you very much, everybody. So we move on to item 7, which is application number CA 24-01430, Hoplands Farm, Island Road, Hurston. And Stevie Andrews, Planning Manager, is going to introduce the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So yes, the next two applications on the agenda relate to the Hoplands development in Hurston, which members will be familiar with. So at July's Planning Committee, members will recall that they resolved to approve an application for 59 dwellings to the southwest of Black Horse Lane. So Black Horse Lane is here, and the application that the Planning Committee approved recently was for 59 additional dwellings here. So this application in front of members tonight is for 50 dwellings, and that's on the opposite side of Black Horse Lane, where the site is outlined in red. This was where a business park was previously approved on the site as part of the outline permission that was granted for the whole development back in 2016, 2017. So there's a lot of house building going on this site, but technically the application does represent a departure from the adopted local plan, and that's why it's in front of members tonight for consideration. So with the exception of access, the application is in outline form. So what that means is if planning permission is granted tonight, then the developer will come in at a later date for approval for the layout and the design of the new dwellings. So details of access has actually been provided as part of this application as well. And you can see that the existing access point from the A28 coming into Black Horse Lane, that's already in existence, and approval is being sought for the internal roads running through the site, with, as I said, approval coming in at a later date for the approval of the layout of the dwellings around those roads. So this is an indicative plan, so this does show how the proposed dwellings could be laid out in relation to the internal roads. So on this slide shows the oh, sorry, went a bit fast then, sorry. Ooh. How do I go back? Sorry. So this plan shows the building heights throughout the site. So the pink is indicating dwellings that are going to be 2-storey, and the blue, so facing onto the A28, those dwellings are proposed to be 3 stories in scale. So for the reasons set out in the report, the application is recommended for approval, subject to safeguarding conditions and the completion of a legal agreement, and that will include an obligation to secure further financial contributions towards the Surrey Relief Road. Thank you, Chair.
And thank you. I am going to propose that we do agree really apologise, everybody. We have a speaker for this, and it's Ben Gearing. Please come up.
Good evening, councillors. Good evening, officers. We believe Hoplands is one of the district's notable success stories of recent years. This high-quality, landscape-led development of new homes and local services, complemented by an abundance of parkland open space, won unanimous praise from Canterbury's Planning Committee. Schemes in the process of being built out and become a reality, providing an attractive and desirable expansion to Hersden. Tonight's proposal seeks to provide up to 50 market and affordable homes to add to the success story. These additional homes, deliverable at a time of acute need, would increase the range of high-quality housing offered in Hersden, from family properties down to starter homes for those struggling to get onto the ladder. Crucially, they will be mutually neutral and can therefore be built without delay. The proposal is from Quinn Estates, and we're an award-winning developer based locally with an unparalleled track record of delivery in the area and delivering for the community. Notable highlights include the hugely popular Eddington Park scheme, which has seen a new community created on the site of the former Herne Bay Golf Club, set around an outstanding state-of-the-art 10 million sports hub. It was 8 years ago that Canterbury's Planning Committee voted unanimously to approve the outline vision for Hoplands. At the time, members praised the parkland setting and cited as benefits the community uses, including a shop to serve day-to-day needs, a GP surgery and a children's nursery. As you have seen from the agenda tonight, we have an application alongside this one for the grocery shop with flats above, and if approved, the shop will sit at the heart of the Hoplands scheme, serving Hersden. Next to the shop site, we had previously transferred a fully serviced plot to the NHS as was agreed, ready for a GP surgery. And in the eastern part of the Hoplands scheme, we had built the East Kent College Apprenticeship Centre, which has already helped hundreds of youngsters enhance their career prospects. Its leadership is described as an outstanding facility created by a company trusted to deliver lasting community benefits. Alongside these on-site community benefits, just last month we celebrated the completion of the new premises for Hersden Under 5s, close to Hoplands, a facility described by its staff as a tremendous gain for the local community. And so tonight's applications are the latest chapters in the Hoplands story. These much-needed additional homes are to occupy space already earmarked for development, namely an area of previously approved business units. While there's been no uptake for these potential occupiers as the office market continues to evolve, it should be noted that Hoplands is uniquely located, given its easy access to the district's largest employment allocation, the hugely successful Lakeview Business Park right next door. So the vision that was welcomed by members nearly a decade ago of a high-quality neighbourhood extension to Hersden, supported by day-to-day services, close to employment opportunities and complemented by open parkland, remains unchanged. We would therefore invite members to support the officer recommendation and that of the consultees to approve the applications tonight so that we can continue to deliver on that vision. Thank you for listening.
And thank you very much. So I am proposing that we accept the officer's recommendation. The authority be given to Head of Planning and Health to grant planning permission, subject to the completion of a legal agreement securing the obligations set out in the report and the safeguarding conditions. Do I have a seconder?
Second, Chair.
Prentice, thank you. Open for discussion and debate and questions. Councillor Dixie and Councillor Naomi Smith.
While welcoming the building of 15 new homes, I am concerned about the loss of employment land. I know the report says there's been no takers for it in the last year or two, but I suspect that's partly because residential land is more expensive than employment land. I just wonder whether the officers could advise us on what the state of play is in the district on employment land, whether there is a shortage of it or whether we have ample supply.
Thank you. We'll get a reply to that. Steve, Simon?
Yes, thank you, Chair. The local plan identifies sort of the amount of employment land required, and the majority of which is identified as being delivered on industrial estates, allocated employment sites within the district. Obviously, the local plan's being reviewed now, so there's a consultation exercise currently, or just finished, I think, isn't it?
Just finished.
Where you know, the proposal to deliver employment sites to meet the need that's been identified as part of the evidence base for the local plan is under consideration. So consultations happened. Now then, officers will prepare the next draft of the local plan on that basis. So, as I say, employment land is generally delivered through employment sites, and that's how traditionally that's happened through the local plan process.
Steve, you could comment on this specific site and what's happened about the employment land.
I just wanted to reinforce Simon's comments, but also add that this site wasn't actually an allocation in our adopted local plan. So we allocated sites on the basis of the employment need that was assessed at that time, and this was assessed as not as a strategic site but as a windfall site that came outside of the draft local plan. So just to make that point as well, so it actually wasn't allocated for housing or employment floor space in the current adopted local plan. It was on top of the allocations that were made to make our housing and employment need. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Naomi Smith next, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'll start off with one question, I think. And I listened to the speaker talk about all this open parkland. This looks really sparse, and it also says in the report that there isn't enough public realm within the site, and it doesn't meet our needs for public realm. But that's been decided to be offset onto Hurston Recreation Ground, which is a 700-metre walk away. And I just don't think that's acceptable in the public, you know, because it does say on one of the pages about the public realm, it's in your report that it is lacking. So can we have a, you know, look at that, please?
Steve, do you want to comment?
It's on item 41.
Thank you. Sorry, just to clarify that under the outline application, this was proposed as a business park, so it didn't include any provision of open space that was provided elsewhere within the site. Obviously, this application, it's a standalone application from the outline, and it generates its own need for open space to be provided, and that's being provided in the form of financial contributions and obviously the Hurston Recreation Ground. But just to clarify, at the time of the outline, it wasn't dedicated open space. It was approved as a business park.
Yeah, but it's not going to be a business park. It's going to be a residential site with not enough open space within it. And having it at Hurston Recreation Ground, which is 700 metres away, isn't compliant with what our recommendations are. I'm confused.
I think. Sorry, there's a bit more, maybe a bit more information. Hold on.
The report says it's not policy compliant.
Paragraph 41.
I mean, what I understand this paragraph to say, and I think I think we're not in disagreement about what it says. It says it's not, but that the financial contribution is because there's this recreation ground master plan. Now, it's for people to decide whether they think that's acceptable or not. I thought it was when I read it, but it's not that it meets our requirement.
But in my opinion, it's too far for somebody with young children to walk to Hurston Recreation Ground to go and use outside space when there's, when they could. We've got the development next to it, which I think, is it a Red Road development that's next to it? Where they're going to, that's got a very poor public realm on it already. So, I mean, we're just adding more, more and more estates with really poor public realm who will end up with this fabulous recreation ground quite a distance away.
We've got quite a few people waiting to speak. So shall I just ask if anybody else wants to talk on this topic? Councillor Jones, come in.
Thank you, Chair. So to ask, this is an outline application with all matters reserved. Would that be correct?
Details of access have been provided, but everything else is outlined in terms of layout and design of the dwellings.
So this is an indicative plan of what could. Okay. So regarding Councillor Naomi Smith's comment regarding about the public realm and the space or the lack of it, would it not be possible for us to ask officers when they are doing negotiations with this site to ensure that there is the relevant public realm space on that site? Can we ask that, or are we not allowed to ask that? That just seems to me to be quite logical. What I'm saying is it's not a full application. We're not judging it on this is what we're actually got. This is indicative of what we could possibly have, which is fine, which is fine. That's good. But now is the time to have this conversation. We've identified, or Councillor Smith very well has identified the lack of that space. Is it something that we could ask officers to take on board? And I don't use the word condition. I don't know if I could do that.
I think that would be the possible way to go, but we've got something that says play space, it looks very small, will be allocated. So that's presumably for very small children. I know we have a conversation about leaps and leaps and all the rest of it. So I don't know whether that's all that is. I mean, we could put the largest...
On the plan, yeah. I mean, it's showing the space there.
There's several issues with it, with the layout as it currently is, because it also mentions in the ecological stuff about not allowing people to get through the bottom area. So, because you're protecting frogs and newts from people with cats and dogs, and they don't want that permeate. So you're actually making quite a tight contained site here. And there isn't open parkland within easy reach. You might have to go up and around and down. It's not as... It just needs... I think it could just do, with a bit of better thinking, you could actually have quite a nice space that the whole community can use, rather than a dog poo alley round the back of some houses.
I think that's the tree barrier, and there is that green space there, and there's a play area on the one next to it. Do you want to get up that... Stevie, do you want to get up the plan where we see the one that's the other side of that lane, so that we can have a look? Sorry, I've lost the name of the lane. So I've got a lot of people who want to speak. Who else wants to speak on this one? David Thomas, I think you did. And Beth, is that... And Paul? Okay. David first.
Thank you, Chair. A little bit of memory on this one, and if I've got memory loss, I can... In 2017, when we granted permission on this, I think this whole site was not allocated in local plan. It was a departure from the local plan because we hadn't started giving planning permission for the site that's kind of the other side of it, where we're just giving planning permission for. So what I'm basically asking is it was a departure from the local plan then. It's not in this local plan for housing. I don't know if it's in the merging local plan for housing. And I'm just wondering whether or not, because again, it was a departure, we're now in another departure. So it's almost the third crack of the whip. And to lose warehouse or whatever I forget the word for the previous application for what the site was used for, so my mind's gone blank. So what I'm basically saying is the same to lose the industrial use, because if we've got quite a lot of houses being built around there, then we need somewhere for families to work. And almost it's two reasons I've got a query with it. One, it's a departure from a departure of the local plan, so it's kind of sneaking in through the back door. Two, it's an outline application, which I don't like anyway. And I suppose post three, it's, is it kind of needed? I mean, has the site been advertised to what needs to be done to convert it into commercial use? I mean, for instance, has George Wilson been approached to put units on there, or whoever? They're putting industrial units in Whitstable and Herne Bay, so there must be a demand somewhere for it. And sure, there's a demand for it in Canterbury, but if you're saying there's not, and this is what we got put on it, and we're in presumption and stuff, so I'll leave it up to you on guidance for when we initially put this application through in 2017. Thank you.
I mean, it is a departure, that's why we've got it in front of us. I don't know about a departure from a departure, that doesn't seem to be quite right, but... and the employment space wasn't part of the allocation, so it's not something we have to live with or stick with, as I understand it.
That was what they proposed.
It was just what it was proposed for before, and then it's never been used, so we are where we are, really. I think two other people wanted to come in on this point. So that was Councillor Forrester.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to echo the concerns about the play provision that the other councillors have made. I like the suggestion for Councillor Jones for a condition. I don't know if it would be possible to also specify what, if we're having a condition about play provision, specify that being not at the edge of the site, to be enclosed, so that the children aren't pushed to the edges, and certainly that it's not facing the road, because reference was made to the play area that's seen on the plans that's further down the A28. I don't know if other councillors are familiar with that, but it's terrible. As a parent, I would not let my children play on it. I know that views echoed by some other councillors, and I go past it regularly, and I have never seen a child on that play area. And in my mind, that's for good reason, and I would be upset if, as a committee, we allowed another play area of that kind to be developed on this site. Thank you.
And Councillor Prentice, I think you indicated on this issue.
Yeah, thank you. I agree with a lot of what others have already said about play space and communal space. I don't have a fundamental problem with housing on this site. And we're looking at a residential application. We're not looking at anything else before us. So my suggestion would just be to improve the layout of the site as it is. If we have the opportunity now, the road layout and housing layout, so that it could incorporate and support some sort of communal space, it does just feel like those other aspects, the play area aspects, have been sort of pushed aside a little bit. And I think we've got an opportunity to put that right now, rather than build up a problem for the future. But as I say, I don't have a fundamental problem with the site, but I do think there's an opportunity to improve it while it's before us.
We've got quite a queue of people waiting, so just hold on a sec. While we're just deliberating about sizes,
There's open space here that connects up to the, because this is part of a bigger site, so it connects up to that. There's a place space.
okay, so let me bring other people in so that let's just get through other comments. Councillor Mackenzie.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I'd like to echo what Councillor Naomi Smith and Councillor Robert Jones have said. I can speak as the ward councillor for a moment. That play park that's already existing on the other development just down the road, right on the road there. Councillor Forrest is absolutely right. It is never used. I've heard from my residents that it's never used. They're too worried to let their children play on it. So if there was to be a play park on this site, it would need to be away from the main road on the other side of the site. So I just wanted to back Councillor Forrester up on that. In terms of the distance to the wreck, it is quite far, and you wouldn't believe the amount of complaints that I receive about Island Road and the traffic safety along there. So that distance for someone to walk from this development over to the Hurston wreck with a toddler, it's not safe, it's not ideal. So I would like to formally propose, if Councillor Jones doesn't mind what he suggested, to when this comes to the reserve matters stage, that it is realigned so that there is more open space on the site. We can rearrange the houses to put a bit of green space in there, a play park, so that parents don't have to walk that far to go take their kids to the park. That's what I was going to propose. Thank you.
Can I add that it's overlooked in that condition? So that we create an open
Yeah,
space,
yeah, I
a
get-
public space that's overlooked
Yeah.
by the housing.
I'm just wondering whether we can write this condition now. I don't want to, well, I'd like to be able to organise it, but we're just not quite sure whether we can find what would be a suitable, because what we're talking about is something with equipment and something a bit bigger than what we've got already, aren't we?
I don't know if it has to be with equipment. An overlooked public realm area for
Okay.
recreation and play doesn't necessarily mean it
Okay.
needs equipment.
Well, I think that makes it simpler because we then don't have to bother with looking up policies.
If we're looking at the alternative being the rec,
Not that we agree the policy. Sorry, Beth.
if we're looking at the alternative being the rec, which is an open space, then it's an open space we're looking at rather than specific play equipment, although that would be lovely.
It's just a realignment of the site because they have got open space within it, but it's just all pushed out in the corners.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree that we're just having a look at that here,
I mean, you
and
can
we
stick
still
with
have
that.
got two people who haven't spoken, and I think we should give them a chance. Dan Smith, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Actually, I mean, I agree with what everyone said about the play area and the suggestions so far have been at least some way towards it. But on the subject of the loss of the business space, I'll be interested, what would the draft local plans be saying about that? Because it strikes me that this kind of commercial use is something that would be within walking distance. It's in where we would in a sense, build the heart of a community as we're creating the larger community in Hurston. And I think that's something that also needs to be considered with the loss of this space.
Thanks, Dan. We'll just get an answer for you. I think Simon's going to take this one.
Thank you, Chair. The Lakesview Business Park is sort of adjacent to the Hoplands site and within Hurston. That's quite a big industrial estate that is quite successful, and that is our sort of allocated employment land within Hurston. I think just going back to what the Chair said earlier on, is the Hoplands site was never in any local plan at all. It was just a field. And the applicant came along and said, right, you know, I've made an application for housing plus employment use. There was no requirement for the applicant to make an application for employment use. They just did it, and that was quite attractive to councillors at the time, as I recall. But there was no policy need for them to do that. Of course, we were in presumption, and therefore the housing development was something that you know, the presumption was to approve, but the employment use not necessarily, because there was no evidence need for it. It was just something they applied for. So I think just going back to that point is that there is employment land, quite a significant amount in Hurston on the Lakesview Business Park. So as I say, no requirement to retain this particular part of particular employment land.
Thanks. Thank you, Simon. Councillor Buckman. Dan Smith, you want to come back?
Yes, just briefly on that. I mean, it did strike me that there is actually potential in this particular development to combine each of these problems, because if you could specify business use to keep some of the housing there. I mean, I think the three-storey housing, it's quite helpful to have housing nearby for the play areas and so on, but also for any business that is put there to be business that is orientated towards play or entertainment of some shape or form. I mean, it strikes me that this is a good location for a bowling alley or something like that, that would actually be a centre of and attractive for the teenage and the younger adult groupings, which I think are sadly undervalued in Hurston. Yeah.
Councillor Buckman.
It was really just a comment, because we've had a few applications. I think it was the Cochrane Farm one that had where they have the play areas on the borders, and I'm just wondering what we keep saying. We keep sort of coming up with the same things and the same issues about where the play parks are and how big they are. do these ever applications come to you first? Do you ever put could officers ever put suggestions out to the developers to say that this is what required? I mean, we sat through the free presentations from the Kent Design people, Kent Design Forum, with their sort of ideas, and it just we're just running the same issues every time about this. And I was just wondering if officers can with play parks and where they are and the sizes of them, if officers ever provide or could provide any guidance to developers, because it's not like we're saying less houses, we're just saying a better layout. Thank you.
I think I was suggesting that we have a look at the whole site on one of the, because of course planning officers have input into these cases as they come through the system. They do. But I think the perception here is that what's on the, you haven't got that up anymore. What's on the site when you look at it with the one next to it on this other side of that road, there is a green area which is like in the middle. That's, can you, any chance, Stevie, we can get that one up? Because I think that's the, whereas this isn't a site which is in and of itself isolated. It's a site that is an extension of the one next door to it. So I'm not talking about the play area that we've identified on the road. I'm talking about the space in the middle, which I think could be usefully developed. But hold on, we can see if we can make that condition. Okay, we've got, coming back with a suggestion, I'm inviting Stevie Andrews to comment. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, it's taken me a little time to get my head around this, but looking at the site overall, there is an over-provision of a number of open space types. So there's an over-provision of semi-natural amenity space, spaces, gardens, green corridors and allotments. So that's across the whole site. But what has been identified with this application is that this needs to meet our sporting needs and our play area needs. So in terms of sport, financial contribution has been suggested. Sorry, there's a bit of feedback here. But we've got a figure of the play area required to mitigate the impact of this development. So that's 0.035 hectares of land. So as I said, this is an outline application. So what we could do is put on a condition requiring that amount of play area to be provided as part of this application, as well as it being equipped as well. And then when the details comes in to approve the layout, that condition will require the provision of that size play area to come in.
Not on the edge.
Yes. So we could include an informative. It's good practice and a good design to have an area that's accessible, overlooked, so we can make sure and liaise with the developers to ensure that it's well integrated within the site as well. So that's an option available to the committee because this is an outline application, if members are happy with that approach.
I think that would meet most people's things. So can we just get that worded so that we can actually put that in and make a minute of it? The other thing is we can add an informative, which often again we do, to say that it needs to be centrally located and overlooked. I mean, I hope now, regarding the employment thing, of course, if we needed this employment land, I would be agreeing with what people have said, but I think the answer we've got back is that it never was allocated for employment land. It was just a suggestion at some point by a developer. It's not in our current local plan or our future one for that. So we don't require this space for that. So I think we need to leave that one there because I don't think we want to change this.
Is it in the future local plan for housing? Because I think it says that in the report.
No, we don't believe it is. It's the reason it's here before us, actually, because it's only a small site now, is because it's a departure from local plans, both current and future.
Well, it's only
So we can put, it's 0.035 hectares.
I do actually do the same, Stevie.
Sorry, thank you, Chair. So there is a condition 5, which requires an open space strategy to be submitted to us. What that's asked for is a demonstration of the amount of open space, but what we can include is a specific amount as part of that condition. So if members are happy with that, we can add that size of play area and incorporate that in that condition 5. Thank you.
But we need it to be located and overlooked. Yeah.
Informative to that effect.
And we'll have an informative and we'll write that down now. And Councillor Mackenzie, I think you want to come back.
Yeah, just on this condition, where will the play park go? Will it go to the management company once it's built? Because I was thinking, could we put an informative on this or a condition so that it would go to the parish council for them to have stewardship over if this was to go ahead? Is that something we can do?
I think we feel at this side, in answer to your question, that we haven't even spoken to the parish council about this. So I think they could probably offer to take it on.
Yeah.
I don't think we can.
Could it be offered? Like,
Sorry?
could it be an offer made to them? If they wanted.
We're not in a position to do a kind of negotiation over something that hasn't been raised already. So why don't you suggest it? We're not allowed to communicate. We're not allowed to do this, all right? So let's stop. So with that, are we happy to go to the vote? Okay, Naomi?
Another condition. Can we put in a condition that the homes built are to an EPC rating A? I would have thought that any good developer would be doing that these days, and I'm guessing if you're an award-winning developer like Quinns, is what they'll be aiming for. And that an EPC rating of A makes them highly saleable and really good for social landlords to take on.
I don't think that's going to work at this point, because we can't. I think I might let Simon. Councillor Bothwell, do you want to come in? Because what I want to do
On that point, yes. Well, just to say that A is it sounds good, but it's actually not that good. And so I would be asking for a much higher standard than that. I think the developer has aspirations to design an energy efficient development, and in the energy statement they call for passive design. They're kind of not committed to it, so they say, you know, where practicable, it's kind of qualified, but the aspirations are there. And if they were going to design or build a development with passive house standard dwellings, then that would be far higher than EPC-A. Just a technical point that EPC-A sounds good, but actually it's not that good.
Thank you, Chair. Feedback. So that we have recommended a condition at condition 28 that requires a sustainability and energy statement to be submitted to us. I'm really sorry, I don't. Is that better? Yes. Right. Okay. So yes, we have recommended a condition requiring a sustainability and energy statement and to be submitted to us. And this it goes into detail about responding to the objectives of sustainable development as well, incorporating sustainable design and construction measures. So yeah, that's at condition 28. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, I think we have to accept that I know people don't like it, but it is an outline application. And if we start to try and design what hasn't been designed yet, we'll get ourselves here all night and won't finish it. So we've been told what the planning officer's view of that is, which is that we are asking for a statement about sustainability and design. Can we leave that there? Are we okay to go to the vote then? Okay, thank you. John, can you run the vote? Thank you.
That's carried 12 in favour and 1 abstained.
Thank you very much, everybody. We now move on to 8. Item 8. Application number CA 22-01648, Hoplands Farm Island Road, Hurston. And Stevie Andrews will introduce the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Right, so this is the second application, Hoplands, and this is on the other side of Black Horse Lane. So Black Horse Lane and the new houses are here. We've just considered an application kind of outside of the box, and this is the application sites outlined in red. So planning permission was previously granted for a food store in this site. So the current application proposes a different building in the same location, still providing a food store on the ground floor, but it's also proposing to provide 9 flats on the 2 floors above. So here are some elevations. So you can see the food store at ground floor level, and then the 9 flats would be on the 2 floors above. And just as a comparison, so here is compares the approved plans for the food store and the proposed plans for a food store with flats above. So you can see number 2 is the approved street elevation when you're viewing it from the A28. And if you look at 1, which is the proposed street elevation, you can see a faint blue outline. I don't know if it's particularly clear here, is it? I'm not sure if I can zoom in. Yes, a dotted line, yeah. If you can see that, then that is the outline of what was previously approved on the site. And so for the reasons set out in the report, the application is recommended for approval, subject to safeguarding conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And I will remember that Ben Gearing is due to speak. Thank you. Finally, 3rd time right.
Hello again. As set out, the proposal before you is for a food store with 9 flats above, and we're happy to confirm that we have heads of terms signed with Co-op who are keen to set up a village store in Hersden of a similar scale and provision to that already successfully operating in Surrey, and similar to that which we as Quinn Estates have delivered at Eddings Park in Herne Bay and are currently building in Ashford at Conningbrook Park. The facility will provide a wide range of day-to-day goods, not just for those living in Hoplands, but also the wider village as a whole. And as members will be aware of, and as set out in the officer's report, this site already benefits from detailed planning permission for a shop at this location. By introducing flats above the shop, the proposal introduces increased human activity in after hours, natural surveillance to the neighbourhood centre, and it should be noted that the original design codes for the Hoplands Park proposal always envisaged community and residential uses within the centre. We thank the officers and consultees for the thorough report on both applications presented to you this evening, which support the officer recommendation for approval. We'd just like to clarify that the active shop floor area to be offered by the Co-op will be exactly the same as that approved before on the earlier scheme. The only reduction in floor space occurs to the back of house area for the store and to incorporate an internal stairwell to the flats above. In summary, therefore, should members be minded to approve the application tonight, this proposal provides a community shop serving Hoplands Park and the wider Hersden area, as well as much needed housing in line with the vision that was welcomed by Canterbury's Planning Committee when first approved. Thank you.
Thank you. So I want to propose the... My mic went off, sorry. I was getting my finger there, that's the wrong thing. Authority be given to Head of Planning and Health to grant planning permission subject to the completion of a legal agreement securing the obligations set out in the report and the safeguarding conditions. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So could I open this for discussion? Councillor Mackenzie, do you want to come in first? Oh, sorry.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I spoke with the chair of the Hersden Parish Council when he rang me up about this one, so I want to raise something that he raised with me about it. So, the idea of a shop there is generally welcomed by the residents, but there is a concern about antisocial behaviour. Hersden struggles quite badly with antisocial behaviour. So, having this concern raised with me, I wanted to raise it this evening and ask on this application whether we could propose a condition along the lines of the wording that I'll read out to you now. So, prior to the first occupation of the development, a detailed security and surveillance plan shall be submitted to and approved by the local planning authority, and that plan will account for CCTV coverage of public and communal areas, lighting and visibility levels in external areas, access control measures for communal and residential entrances, and maintenance and monitoring arrangement for these measures. I was wondering if that's something that we can impose on this application.
Have you got the wording written down? Yes, you could give us. Sorry? You can email it over.
Send it over to your email by right now.
Yeah, not to me, but
To Simon, yeah.
Simon. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I think we can probably do something like that. Broadly speaking, it's quite a lot of detail, but let's just have a. We'll come back to it and have a quick look at it before we actually vote. Dan Smith, there's the next person.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just one thing, well, a couple of things actually. One, I noticed there's one of the conditions is about the archaeology, but there's obviously this is an area where there were, the KCC archaeology have indicated that there may be sites that are of interest, which may potentially cause delays. So just to hear a little bit about that, if there's anything to say about that. I do note it is in the reasons though, so it's obviously accounted for and the time allowed for that. And also Southern Water advised against the residential development that falls within close odour contours of the wastewater treatment works. Wonder if we could hear a little bit more about what's being done about that, because obviously as a medical centre in the shop, it's not an ideal location for a smelly environment, if you know what I mean.
We're just getting you an answer. I'm not convinced it was saying this one was near it, but we're trying to just check. It.
If I may, Chair, it's actually in the agenda on page 50, I think, Southern Water's comment.
I've got the comment in front of me. It wasn't that I didn't see the comment, but I don't think it seems a general piece of advice, and this development has got so many parts now.
I was just going to say, Chair, and taking Councillor Dan Smith's point, the question really is this site in that area? Because it's woolly, or do we know where the nearest one is and what the benchmark is? It's like they've just answered a generic question.
I know.
To me,
I think
where
that's
just
what
said, by the way, if it's within a blah blah, we wouldn't recommend houses.
Well,
but it
I think that's what my reaction was when I looked at it. It looks like a very, broad-based
thing. I'm just trying to
thing.
think. The nearest tank stirring station, you got one at Sturry. I mean, where's the next big one?
Isn't there part? It depends which one we're talking about. There's actually one on the big Hoplands, isn't there?
Yeah, they built their own.
They built their own, but it's not on this bit of site, as I understand it. But I'm just asking officers to check. So while we're waiting for that to come back, Councillor, where have I got to? Naomi Smith.
Thank you. Because I'm only recently on this planning committee and I don't have the history that some of my fellow councillors have, looking at this, the junction onto Island Road, it looks to me like this is going to be a really busy in-out, dropping off. We've got, drop off at nursery, quick get your pint of milk, drive back up the road because you can't be bothered walking, or it's a bit of a horrible road to walk on. And it just seems there's no plan for the junction there? Is there a plan? I don't know. Is there sort of proposal for maybe even I don't know what you would need, but you've got an awful lot of people going in and out of there, quickly dropping, I'll drop my gran off at the medical centre and the kids off at the nursery and all of that.
The answer to that is that it's already been approved for a shop with the access. So there hasn't been an objection. I mean, this is the previous one, which is, as the gentleman said, the same size shop. So that's the...
Is there any improvements to that road access? I mean, it could have been approved already, but I haven't got that information.
Okay, well, I think we're still looking for the wastewater treatment issue. So I think we better... Councillor Bothwell, do you want to put your question, even though the problem is, of course, we're still looking at the other ones, but let's hear from you.
Yes, my question is about open space, that there is no private open space associated with this development. So the people living in those flats have nowhere to have an alfresco meal or, notwithstanding the possibility of smells from the sewage treatment works, it would be nice if they could be provided with good-sized balconies so they could, in nice weather, get outside on a balcony, that kind of thing. Because there's no private open space associated with those dwellings, which, but a two-bedroom dwelling, maybe there are going to be children there.
I think we need to also look at the design. I'm just wondering whether we need to, I don't really want to propose deferment, but I think we do need to just see if we can find the information for people. So just hold on a minute. Thank you. I don't know what we can do about the open space part. Can we get up the design at all? But I think we have an issue with the wastewater distance. So we're just looking at the detail of that, the background, if we can. If we can't find it today, we may have to defer. But just hold on. Sorry?
We've got that, yeah.
No, that we've got that, and we're just looking at the. It's possible that it is within the 500 metres. It is within the 500 metres, but there are other things they said that should be done, and at the moment we haven't got that or found that. So that's why I'm saying we may have to defer, but we're just trying to find out if we know the answers or if we don't know the answers. So that's where we are at the minute. Thank you for also looking it up, though. That's really helpful. Councillor Dixie, you wanted to come in, and there's. Okay, so it's this issue. Thank you. It looks like we don't know the whole story, yes, so we're waiting.
Right. Thank you, Chair. Couple of bits to...
Hold on, we're going back. So this is the answer on the problem of the wastewater treatment plant.
Right, so we've both located the the letter from Southern Water. What Southern Water is saying in the letter is that there's whenever a planning application comes in, that they have a notional buffer zone of 500 metres, and they say any development that's within 500 metres of a wastewater treatment works should be subject to further analysis in terms of the impact of odours, and they talk about a contour map, which I don't understand, but it looks like it's a more detailed assessment of how that odour would impact on that development. We can't find anywhere that any such assessment has been carried out. So the option is to put a condition on the planning permission to say that no development will take place until an odour assessment has been carried out and it's been demonstrated that there's no adverse impact on the occupiers of the properties.
Okay.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Well, I think Harry's condition sort of, I suppose, loosely it is a planning matter. It's more detailed than we'd normally go to, but I think we could put a condition on asking for details of a surveillance plan.
They want CCTV anyway, wouldn't they?
Which they probably will anyway. And
Yeah,
also,
sure.
what you've said, Harry, is CCTV coverage of public and communal areas, lighting and visibility levels in all external areas,
Well, you want that anyway.
access control measures for communal and residential entrances, maintenance and monitoring arrangements for these measures, which probably, at least the first three, would happen anyway, wouldn't they, in terms of just general security for flats. So we could put a condition. I was asking for details of those, and see what comes back.
We can add it to condition 15, which is talking about external lighting, and the details have to be submitted. Yeah. So, Harry, the details that you sent over can be incorporated into condition 15. So we'll get that in the minutes. Okay. So, and to go back to balconies, there are Juliet balconies, not extended balconies, and we don't have requirements for open space for under how many?
10.
Under 10 dwellings, this is 9. So there isn't a planning requirement for that. So we couldn't condition that, as far as I can see.
Can we put an advisory in recommending that private open space is provided for the health of residents?
I think what we feel is that there isn't actually open space there, and that is what the application is. We're not, redesigning, as we said on the previous one. We can't really do that.
No, that's exactly my point. There isn't any open space
No.
outside. Therefore, if they provide balconies, that would give them external open space, amenity space.
Yeah, I mean, the issue there is that the application is as it is in front of us, and there are no balconies shown on the design. There's no policy that would require balconies to be put in place. So, I mean, we do have to look at the application as submitted, not as we'd want it to be. And obviously, I can see that it might be beneficial to have balconies, but we can't redesign the scheme through as a committee or as a local planning authority.
Okay, so we have 2 conditions that are clear, and I think we all agree them. So I don't think we need to go over them again, do we? And an informative, sorry. Councillor Thomas.
Sorry, Chair, are you just about to go to the vote? Are you just about to go to the vote or not? Yeah, I just want to clarify the situation that you just mentioned. So, for instance, are you saying that if the sewage works is too close, then we won't grant permission? I'm not 100% convinced. I'm not 100%, sorry, I don't understand 100% that part.
We'll just read it to you again, because I think that the wording is all. Simon.
Yeah, what we'd do is we'd say no development take place until an odour assessment, whatever the words are that Southern Water have asked for, has been carried out to demonstrate that there's no adverse effects on the residential occupiers. And we could also add, actually, that if there are any impacts, then sort of mitigation would need to be incorporated
go ahead.
or doesn't go ahead effectively, because we say no development happen until we've established the position.
Yeah. Yes, sorry, did you want to come back?
Yeah, sorry, Chair, just to clarify, I'm just wondering how we do a smell survey if the sewage work's not built. Oh, sorry. Okay, I thought you. Okay, that's fine. Okay.
Why? It is what we should have, and we haven't got it. But we can condition it, and we can say that no development will happen until this is done and satisfactory. Okay. We've got two more people. I don't know, but I think Beth Forrester, Councillor Forrester first, because everyone else has spoken.
Thank you, Chair. It was just on the mitigations on that odour assessment. Can you just run through the process of how we will ensure those are satisfactory before any development takes place? So it's not that it has to be done, it's that it has to be done and we have to be satisfied for it. So will that come back to planning subcommittee, or is there another mechanism?
Sorry? So we go back to Southern Water and make sure that what they're suggesting is right. So either they've done the assessment, it's qualitatively all right anyway, or they've done the assessment, there is a problem, but they think there's mitigation, which is acceptable, because this, as somebody said in the beginning, this is a condition that they require.
Acceptable to them or acceptable to us? That's what I'm not clear on. I think it'll be them, but I just want...
All about making some more wording, because we need to take another couple of minutes.
Well, I don't know, because I don't know what the answer is to my question. Sorry.
Try and answer that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so any conditions that we impose are our responsibility to approve or not. But what we do is we take the advice of the experts. So in this case, Southern Water, we'd ask them whether what has been submitted is acceptable. If it's not, then we would say, right, well, there's a harmful impact here. We'd look at whether mitigation was possible. If it is, then that's we'd agree the mitigation. If not, then the developers wouldn't be able to occupy, or the development wouldn't be able to be occupied.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Dan Smith, I was just going to say, I'm just about to propose.
Yeah, sorry, Chair.
No, it's okay. Go on.
But you were one last one. I think when you read that out, it was to do with residential development, but obviously this is a mix of commercial and residential. So should we also have commercial in there as well? Because with a food premises and also with children's play areas and things, it's going to adversely affect the commercial enterprises. I don't know if that can be done.
This isn't. This is a condition that, as far as we can see, is about residential. Mind you, I notice there's a nursery on the back of it, so that's not part of the. So that's nothing to do with this application. I'm just mentioning it. So. It'll have the same impact, won't it? So now I would like to go to the vote, which is that the authority be given to Head of Planning and Health to grant planning permission subject to the completion of the legal agreement, securing the conditions, obligations set out in the report and safeguarding conditions, with the addition of the surveillance and CCTV lighting one to section 14, and an additional one about the closeness to the wastewater treatment and the mitigation and or satisfactory report on that. So could I move to the vote, John? Thank you.
Okay, that has carried. 11 in favour and 2 abstained.
Thank you very much, everybody. So if we could move on to planning appeals report. I think we've just got one report. Stevie, I don't know if you want to comment or anybody wants to ask a question? No. Then any other urgent business to be dealt with in public? None is advised. So we now move to exclusion of the press and public. So I need to propose and seek a seconder to this resolution. Under section 100A4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the press and the public be excluded from the meeting during consideration of the following items of business on the grounds there will be disclosure of exempt information as defined in Part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Act, or the Freedom of Information Act, or both. I need a... I think lots of people put up their hand. Dan Smith, and we can agree by general assent, please. Everybody happy? Okay, thank you. We just take a couple of minutes break, but not long. But anybody who wants a quick break, please do it now.